Shalom. I want to start off by giving all praises, honors, and glories to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Bahakwadash. I want to give double honor to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone who taught us this 100% truth according to the spirits to be Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai. Peace and blessing to the hopeful elect out there pushing His word to the four corners of the earth in truth and sincerity. Peace and blessing to your hopeful believers out there which are also part of the elect to I say Shalom. And so once again, I want to say, call Allah, Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushua, Bahashem, Rachakwadash. Forgive me, Rachakwadash. To do this lesson on today, Lord willing, the fees and lemon sheets of Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushua. So I got a video to the parent spirit of Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushua. And I just want to go into with all thy getting, with all thy wisdom, get understanding, because essentially it's all about initiating the scriptures of Yahweh Bahashem Yahushua. It's you can know all the scriptures, you can have all the understanding, but if you're not initiating them in your day-to-day life, then it's pointless. It's almost like you having knowledge in the work field, but you're not initiating that. So the type of skill that you're showing forth is not even the fullest of the skill that you're showing forth, because you know how to do particular things. If you're in the trades, you know how to do these particular things, but you ain't initiating them. So what's the point of you having the knowledge if you're not going to initiate it? You see, that's why the scriptures speak about as in without works, faith is dead. It says how you'll be like a man beholding his natural self in a mirror and goeth and forgetteth what he saw. You see, so that's what you'll be. You'll be knowing his wisdom, his understanding, but if you don't initiate it, you just like a natural man in the mirror beholding himself and leaving and forgetteth what you saw. You was in a mirror to correct particular things, but you walking off as if there's nothing wrong anymore. You see, because it's all about initiating the scriptures. That's why Paul made this point too. I want to pull this real quick. Pull this point. I think it's Romans 12. Have the gift of tongues. Right? That's 1 Corinthians. Okay, let me get that. That's 1 Corinthians chapter 13. And verse 1, it says, though I speak with the tongues of men and of angels, and have not charity, I am become as sounding brass or a tinkling cymbal. And though I have the gift of prophecy and understand all mysteries and all knowledge, and though I have all faith so that I can remove mountains and have not charity, I am nothing. You see, but so it's all about initiating what the Lord has given us in our day-to-day lives and in the times to come, because you got to understand that the things that we speak, the things that we rebuke, Elder Michael Allah, he made a beautiful point. He was saying, you rebuking brothers. He made his point at Passover. He said you could be rebuking brothers and things like that, going hard on brothers. But then when it comes to your time, how are you going to react? You see? And that's what times we're fastly approaching, because the Lord is going to try us. As scripture say, acceptable men in the front of adversity, persona servitude. The Lord is going to try us and going to see what metal, or if we are metal, we are we dross. Because all these particular things we're saying, the Lord is going to hold us accountable to those things that we are saying. You see? And if you don't initiate them, then all along you were just hypocrite. You see? You're just a hypocrite, a stage actor, faking as if you teaching these things, but you ain't showing forth those things in your day-to-day life. You see? Because the times we're coming into, man, it's going to be bad. Shit. So I know what it said. It's going to be bad. Brothers are going to have to, it's going to be like the time of Acts where they had many families within one household, And it's going to get very uncomfortable. But now, if what you really now you need to be doing it. But it's going to get very uncomfortable. But it's going to show forth what type of man you are. Are you a man of the Lord or are you a nigga? You see, so I'm going to pull this. Is Proverbs chapter 3, verse 5. It says, trust in the Lord Yahweh Bahashem Yahushua with all thine heart, and lean not to thine own understanding, because we have no understanding. Right? Our understanding is through the power and spirit of Yahweh Bahashem Yahushua is his. It says, in all thy ways acknowledge him. And when you go into that word acknowledge, it means to bow down. So in all thy ways, you can say bow down, and he shall direct thy path. You see, so in all the ways, acknowledge the Lord. You know, you got these funky, phony, anti-Hamashiachs, these Christians, they let us say, what would Jesus do? Which, fuck Jesus, but what would Yahweh Shai do? You know? Well, Yahweh Shai is going to initiate the scriptures in his day-to-day life. That's what he did. Yahweh Shai, you read it in Hebrews 12, he was an example to do what? To show you how to initiate the scriptures. He was the embodiment of the law. He was the embodiment of the scriptures, which means he initiated the scriptures in his day-to-day life. And we're following in that same stead. And it's pointless to have the understanding if you don't initiate the understanding. Then, as I said, as was said earlier in James, you be as a man, you be as a man beholding yourself in a mirror and go out and forget what he saw. You see? Salakia, bear with me right quick. Salakia, bear with me. It's like I'm back. But as I said, like he says, I'm reading it again, Proverbs 3 and 5, verse 6. In all thy ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct thy paths. You see? Initiating the scriptures. And with you initiating the scriptures, the Lord, like I say, he's going to direct your paths. He's going to come through for you. You're not just all talk. You actually initiating the wisdom. That's what Noah did. And Noah initiated the understanding. He had understanding that the flood was going to come. So the Lord said, build this ark according to how I'm telling you to build it, and you and your family shall be protected. So he initiated. He had understanding, but he didn't just sit there and be like, okay, and just went off and forgot it. No, he initiated it. And that's an example for the elect on today. The elect will be initiating the scriptures, building that spiritual ark. Exactly how the Lord wants it to be built. Like scriptures say, take heed to how you build. Are you initiating what you've been taught, or are you just going off the dome? You see? Let's get this right here. This is Sirach, also known as Ecclesiastes chapter 19, verse 24. He that has small understanding and feareth the Most High is better than one that have much wisdom and transgresses the law of the Most High. You see? So, because, Apostle Rechai, he made a point that King Masha was like, I'm not looking for the one that could tell me all the scripture. I'm looking for the one that initiates that scripture. You see? You can tell me all the scriptures, you can tell me all the understanding, but if you're not initiating it, then it don't matter. It just looks cool on you. And it's not about looking cool, it's about initiating the wisdom, the knowledge, and understanding we've been given. It don't say in Isaiah 33:6, wisdom and knowledge should be the stability of our times and the strength of our salvation. The fear of the Lord is our treasure for no reason. That only applies to those that initiate the wisdom, the knowledge, and understanding of these scriptures. You see? That's why I said he that has small understanding but feared the Most High is better than one that have much wisdom. Why? Because he that feared the Lord is going to initiate what the Lord told him to do. That's what Noah did. You look at the example of Noah. That's what Noah did. And chiefly, that's what Yahweh Shai did. You see? They initiated the understanding, right? Now, not saying that they had small understanding. We know Yahweh Shai had high understanding, but it's just giving the aspect of just because you know all the prophecy, you know the gift of tongues, you good in the Hebrew, you break down scriptures really well, you're a really good teacher. If you're not initiating it yourself, then it doesn't it doesn't really go in effect, and it's useless for you. You see? Right, I'm gonna pull this and I'm gonna end it off. This is Sirach, also known as Ecclesiastes chapter 37, verse 19. There is one that is wise and teacheth many, and yet is unprofitable unto himself. You see? You got all this wisdom, you got all this understanding, but when it comes down to you, you don't initiate it in your day-to-day life. Which means what? That is unprofitable unto you. It doesn't benefit you, as was said in James. You're like a natural man, right? That you forget of what you've seen in the mirror. And we don't want to be that individual. Because the times you're coming into, those individuals are going to be beaten with many more stripes because you came into the wisdom, the knowledge, and understanding of these scriptures. So you're going to be beaten with many more stripes because you knew the will of your Lord and you still didn't fear. And that's what times we're coming into, man. Because it's not going to be, how your apostles initiated. It's not going to be, no, it's going to be you and your relationship with Yahweh Bahashim Yahushai. And if you are initiating the scripture based upon your faith, nobody else's. So, Lord, when this is edifying to the power and spirit of Yahweh Bahashim Yahushai, and feed your lamb sheets of Yahweh Bahashim Yahushai, I'm going to end it up and saying, call law, Yahweh Bahashim Yahushai, Bahashim Achawadash. When they get up honor to the apostles, the elders, great millstone, to y'all, I'm going to say shalom.